Hi, and welcome. I'm Louise Hudson, and this is Gretchen Kother with Lee County Federated Republican Women. We're here today to interview KT Manus, who is running for Public Education Commissioner. KT, welcome, and would you like to introduce yourself to us, please?
Thank you, and I'd also like to thank you for having me today. My name is KT Manus, and I'm running for the New Mexico Public Education Commission for District 9. I am from Hobbs, New Mexico, born and raised. I graduated from Hobbs High School, and I also have a business in Hobbs. I've had that business for about 7 years now. I also teach marketing classes at Texas Tech University. I hold a PhD from Texas Tech University, and I'm finishing a second PhD from Texas Tech. My family has a restaurant in Hobbs. They've had that restaurant for over 40 years. And my dad also has a plumbing company that he's had for 25 years. So we have deep roots in New Mexico and especially in Hobbs.
All right, thank you. So the first question we have is, what does a public education commissioner do?
So the Public Education Commission, they authorize all the state chartered schools for New Mexico. And the charter schools, whenever they're looking to get authorized, they can go about this through two different options. And one of those options is to go through the school district in which they're located. So like if one wanted to open up in Hobbs, they could go through the Hobbs Municipal School District, or they could go through the New Mexico Public Education Commission. And currently, the New Mexico Public Education Commission has chartered 50 schools throughout the state. But right now, the last time that I looked in District 9, the Public Education Commission has not actually authorized any for our district. So any of the chartered schools that we have in District 9, they've been authorized through the school districts in which they're located in. So one of the things with that is additional to the chartered schools, the Education Commission also advises on all the vocational programs and career and technical education programs for the state. So I know that like Hobbs, they've been working on trying to get a technical career type education center set up for the Hobbs Municipal School District. So the policy and initiative that goes with that is through the Public Education Commission. And they also authorize different types of funds for these vocational and career type education benefits.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, KT, our next question is, what part do you think that charter schools play in the New Mexico education system?
Well, if you don't know much about chartered schools, I know that over the last 10 or 15 years, they actually got started in the early 2000s, late 1990s, being authorized. And so with chartered schools, it's kind of like a polarized topic, if you will, because it goes across political parties, some in Republican Party favorite, some in the Democratic Party favorite. So it really goes across party lines and who favors it and who doesn't favor it. And what chartered schools are they're publicly funded schools that are kind of exempt from a lot of the government regulations and bureaucracy that sometimes come into play with our public education system. And I know that after talking to many of the like K through 12 teachers, that the bureaucracy can sometimes be a hindrance to them in classes and what they try to accomplish. So that's kind of what the chartered schools, they don't have as much, I guess, regulation on them as a traditional public school. So that's kind of like a little bit of the difference. And with that, the whole kind of purpose of why they brought in chartered school was to kind of increase the competition among schools, and then also provide a choice for people who maybe they wanted to send their son or daughter to a different school rather than the traditional public school system. And just to kind of give you an idea of how this is going in New Mexico, so we have, as I mentioned, 50 chartered schools that have been authorized through the Public Education Commission. But 2 of the chartered schools, they're actually online. So there have been some studies on like the effectiveness of the chartered schools, and the actual in-class, face-to-face type chartered schools, the brick and mortar, they're pretty much on par, if not a little bit better in terms of like math and reading. But the online version is not on par with the math and reading. They're actually falling behind some of those. So one thing that I think kind of needs to be addressed are the online aspects of the chartered schools, because I know a lot of people, especially now that we're actually transitioned to all online for the traditional public school system due to the coronavirus, I think it's something that not only the public schools, but the charter schools are going to have to think about how to improve the instructional method that goes along with online type of instruction. So that's kind of my take on the charter schools. I wanted to give you the background and all that information with it.
Okay, thank you so much. The last question is, what do you see as the most important issue with the charter school system?
So for me, as I mentioned, my family, they have a restaurant background and they also have a plumbing background. So I think one of the things that is really important for us as a state is to really consider the vocational aspect of what a public education commissioner could provide as far as like advice and actually promoting vocational education throughout the state of New Mexico, because currently there is a large shortage in both healthcare workers and construction workers, and both of those are vocational type or career type fields that the Public Education Commission advises on. So the more, I guess, promoting that we could do with these 2 types of fields, the more people that hopefully come out of the high school, wherever they graduate from in New Mexico, that they stay in New Mexico and actually work in these different types of industries, so that we can fill the gap, because there is a huge gap, and that gap is going to only increase in the next 10, 15 years. So that's kind of, I think, a big part that we could play is promoting that vocational aspect a little bit more than what has been done in the past.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you so much. We really appreciate you spending some time with us today and answering our questions. And if you would state your name and the race that you're in again, please.
Yeah, again, my name is KT Manus, and I'm running for the New Mexico Public Education Commission for District 9. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate the time and effort you guys have put into hosting this interview. I know that sometimes technical difficulties can be challenging, but we made it through it, so thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, KT.
Really appreciate it.
Bye.